When I was younger, and I used to see people in my family, or just people in general, have these 20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to be like, wow, I want something like that. Like, I want to be so in love with somebody that I'm with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and we die together. I used to think that what held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you understand that all it takes to keep a man is for you to constantly be forgiving and constantly be like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose him, so I'm gonna forgive this, I'm gonna forgive that. That's all a long marriage is. When I was younger, and I used to see people in
Ooh,
my family, or just
wow.
people.
What are your thoughts on that? We've been talking about this for the past few years now when we first started exposing what grandma and pop's relationship was really like. We started exposing it years ago that these women were not happy. These relationships were terrible and the women were enslaved. And now it's finally coming to the forefront. People are paying attention. And the thing about it is that this not only goes for these olden time relationships, this is a lot of these modern relationships too. People are like, oh, you can't keep a man. Some men are not meant to be kept. Some relationship dynamics are not meant to stay in. But there's so many women who have been indoctrinated, and this is what I'm talking about. We have to do the work, that we have to look within ourselves to see what type of programming we've been programmed with. The program that's operating in the back of the operating system undetected. Because there are some women who are out there putting up with relationships because they don't want a higher body count, that they've had intercourse or didn't even consent to the intercourse. And now they're like, well, this person, even though I didn't consent, this person is one of my numbers now. So now I got to stay in this. And this is what men are teaching in the manosphere. They're teaching that they need to get you early, intimately. They need to get you early by any means because they know that you can be shamed by your family. Like in some Arab countries, a woman who is R-worded or girl who is R-worded is stoned or jailed because she had carnal knowledge of a man, regardless of whether or not it was against her will or whatnot. Like these archaic draconian laws really need to be changed. Like women, we need to wake up and stop feeling like we are sub-citizens and we need to demand change in our respective countries. But listen, you heard it and we've been talking about it for quite some time. This is how those relationships lasted 50 years. This is how. Because men had this little wink between them that they were going to give the high paying jobs to men, that they were going to stop women from having bank accounts. I exposed this on the internet about 2 years ago when women were actually able to get bank accounts in this country. And I'm glad that the word has spread because now I've seen it on other podcasts. Because the conversation needs to be had. Because I remember how I came upon that conclusion. I was watching a documentary. And in this documentary, it was talking about how there were Black people who were trying to buy houses and they couldn't open bank accounts. Black people couldn't open bank accounts. And then I started looking it up. And I was like, when were Black people able to open bank accounts in this country? And then I saw it and I was like, when were women? And then I came to the internet and I told you all about it. But yeah, not the inability to own property. When people got divorced, the courts would punish the woman by automatically granting custody to the fathers until fathers were like, look, I don't want custody of these young kids. The standard was for men to get the custody, and the women were just out on the street on their own. So when these men are out here talking about how court is unfair to women, the courts are set up like that because of men. This is a quote unquote man's world. Men make these laws. You think these men are making laws that are unjust and unfair to other men because that's not how men want it? Oh, they want to kick and scream and be like, I just can't see my kids. But then when you ask them the deep questions, whether or not they showed up in court, you'll see how the truth starts coming out. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? how marriage was really just a bunch of women putting up with BS. And of course, not all relationships. Some relationships are happy, wonderful relationships, but far too many are exactly this case and scenario.
Be a part of the live show with thousands of other viewers. Go to TonyaTKO.com/text and join the text notification squad and get a text whenever I go live. Support the show and yourself, and I'll see you on the next live broadcast.